뭐?
아, 부탁이에요. 제발요.
자기 뭐 아쉬울 때만 존댓말 쓰더라.
15. 즐거움의 끝이 없다. TVN.
So today is Friday, and basically I took today off from work, mostly because I needed some time off to refresh myself, and because I work for an American company, I actually have Monday off too as well, so I thought I would extend my long weekend to even a longer weekend, and it's great so far. I picked Friday also because it is still part of the readathon, and I thought I would need some more time for myself to read books just in case throughout the week I was busy and I couldn't read as much. In total right now, I feel like I read 11 items, and I say items because there were some novellas that I read, but I counted them as half reads, mostly because I just wanted to be fair with myself. So you guys probably already saw the reviews of them, but I think I didn't talk about some of the books that I did read recently, so let's just quickly go through some of those books right now. Okay, so I read a lot of Stacey Reid so far this week, as you can tell, or if you can't tell already. I don't even know what I've filmed anymore in this reading vlog. This is why I don't do reading vlogs, mostly because it's just like a huge mess. But one of the Stacey Reid novels that I did read was called Duchess by Day, Mistress by Night. This one I gave 3 out of 5 stars to, mostly because I wasn't just vibing with the story. I don't really like this plot that much, and I've read this before from Grace Calloway, and I just don't like it. But basically it's a personal preference thing. I have nothing against Stacey Reid, but basically our main heroine is a duchess. She was married, her husband died, and she had a child, but that child got taken away, and she wants to go find her child again. But then the way that the synopsis made it sound like she just was a widow who wanted to explore herself sexually and wanted the help of our hero with that problem. And at the beginning of the book, it literally was like this, but then somewhere along the way, a missing child happened, and now she needs to go find this child, and she enlists the help of our hero. Meanwhile, our hero is happy to help with, like, you know, the sexual lessons and everything like that. But he also wants her to help him with his sister's debut, because his sisters need help since he's not from like a financially stable background. So this is the romance between them. It was darker than expected. It was hot, but it just wasn't enough for me to care about our characters, and I didn't care about the fact that our Duchess was like trying to find her child. Like, I was like, okay, I don't care. That's why I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I did read was actually a novella. So these are some novellas I did read for the historical romance readathon. They're from Nicola Davidson. I bought these novellas off Amazon during the 3rd round of our historical romance readathon that took place in January of this year, and I told myself I was going to read it. I did not read it. It got buried underneath all the ebooks that I purchased / got arcs of, and basically all weird stuff that happened with my Kindles. But I finally remembered them, and I went back to them. And this series, which is called the Fallen series by Nicola Davidson, is BDSM historical romance mixed with fluff. It sounds really weird, and when I was reading it, it was like I was on a grand trip of emotions. It was a roller coaster of emotions. I didn't really know how to feel about it because I didn't expect this to happen, because I don't read reviews as I go into books. But the first book that I read was actually book number 2, which I strongly recommend you not to do, mostly because this novella series does kind of happen that you have to read it in order, because you see other characters from other books in the series, and you're going to ruin things for yourself. So The Devil's Submission included a wedding, specifically our main characters from our first novella, and that, like, I I was just so mad at myself for ruining that moment for me. I felt like I would have enjoyed the wedding scenes more if I read book number 1. But anyways, Devil's Submission is a BDSM novel involving our hero, who is the bookkeeper of like this den of pleasure, and it's basically like this club in society where people can go explore themselves. And then after, our hero is actually a submissive and he wants to be tamed by a dominant figure. He's actually married to our heroine, and he was attracted to her in the first place because he saw something in her that made him think that she was a dominant. And then afterwards, she was taught by her mother, in order to be a good proper wife, that she needed to be a submissive. And then so she got married to him, and then she completely changed her attitude, and he was severely disappointed in her, and he didn't want to bring her into his dark and murky past. So then afterwards, he kind of just let her go and gave her like a piece of property and money to live off of, until months later she comes barging back into his life, becoming the dominant that she was once when he saw her. And then he's shocked to see it, but then there is a reason why she is back in his life. And this one, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. So personally, I do not really like BDSM themes in my romance anymore, mostly because we had that phase back when 50 Shades was happening, and it was just so much, and I loved it at the time, and I like read so many BDSM novels, and I was like, yes, love it. But then because I read so many back in the day, I just got so tired of it now. So like anytime I hear about BDSM in novels, I get kind of bored. So this one was really difficult for me to read, mostly because of that, but I still appreciate it. I'm not gonna yuck anybody's yum. And then this one, I also was shocked at how sweet and soft it was and fluffy it was. It was just so cute between our two characters, mostly because our hero is actually like this big fluffy nerd, and he is so sweet and soft in the center, even though he has this hard exterior and he's so grouchy and grumpy. He like cares about our heroine so much, and I loved it. So 5 out of 5 stars to this one. So then I read book number 1, which is Surrender to Sin, and this one was an interesting one. Our female heroine is a widow, and she is fairly young. She was married very young, and then she was widowed like in her mid-20s. Her father is crazy, and her father's like, okay, like now that your husband's dead, you need to go remarry to someone else. I found this like the worst person that you could ever marry, and I want you to marry him because he's like from a reputable status. And she's just like, Father, you are crazy. Like, why am I marrying this crazy guy? So she decides to make problems for herself so that she doesn't have to marry him. So she goes towards our hero, who is like one of the owners of the pleasure club or whatever, I don't know what you call it, the club for pleasure, and she kind of asks him like, hey, like, is it okay if you ruin my reputation like a little bit so that like I don't have to marry this guy, because this guy hates it when like his name is tied to scandal. And then our hero is more than willing to help her because he's very attracted to her, but he like lays it down like that he would never fall in love with her and that he is not looking for marriage. And she's just like, okay, sure, I don't really care. So they kind of have like this relationship where they explore each other's bodies, and they create a lot of scandal out in public, and rumors start flying and everything. And then also feelings start growing on her side. So she's getting more and more like attracted to him emotionally and mentally, along with physically. And she feels like there's a connection, but she also knows that it's like a dead end because our hero is kind of like a wall and like, you know, doesn't care, but in reality, like he cares so much. It's just that he doesn't know it because he's too thick-headed. So he keeps like thinking to himself that he's not in love with her until it might be too late. Anyway, so this whole book is just full of a lot of shenanigans. I must say that this one does include like an orgy party. Like it's just like public intercourse happening in towards the end of novella, and I was just like, what is happening? I don't know, I just wasn't used to it. So you know what, like the verdict is that this novella series is very dirty, and it's very hot, and it's very steamy. This one, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And then the next one that I read was The Merry Viscount by Sally Mackenzie. Now, I've seen a lot of her books everywhere, and I really wanted to read her, and I decided to pick up A Christmas Tale in the middle of July. Why? Because it's blazing hot outside, and I wanted a Christmas tale. So this one is about our female heroine who is traveling back on this carriage ride. It's like, pretend it's like a coach, bus, and there's a lot of like people on this carriage, and they're traveling through the thick of a storm, but then obviously, you know, the storm stops them from traveling, and then they go to a nearby house who is none other than her long lost childhood friend. Of course it is. And he came from like this really like bad adulthood where there's a lot of things that made him turn into a bitter man, and then he sees his childhood friend again, and suddenly things look brighter, and he's no longer, you know, Mr. Frost. He's a warm, lovable guy, letting them stay in the same house as him, and like giving them food and giving them shelter, and then while also reminiscing like his childhood with his childhood friend. And the thing that I didn't like about this one was because a lot of the things that they were talking about were told to us and that we weren't experiencing ourselves. So it was like, hey, remember that time we did this? And then the girl goes, yeah, I remember that time. And then the reader's just like listening to this conversation, not getting the story because it felt like an inside joke. So this one was kind of like boring and it dragged on. And I didn't really feel like our character was very that grumpy in the first place. So it was kind of like a cop-out when I read the synopsis, and I thought that our hero would be more grumpy, but he's not. He's like a sweet marshmallow. This one, 3 out of 5 stars. So the next one that I did read was another Stacey Reid novel. This one was a novella because it was like 120 pages, so it was a quick read. This one's called The Duke's Shotgun Wedding, and basically our heroine holds a pistol to our hero and demands him to get his younger brother out because she needs to marry him, because the younger brother apparently seduced her and said that he was gonna marry her. So now her reputation might be in ruins, so she needs to marry someone at least so that she can secure her future. And then our hero is very grumpy, grouchy, like just angry alpha male, and he's just like amused by this girl who is holding a shotgun at him. And then afterwards he goes, you know what, I can't have you marry my younger brother because my younger brother's already, you know, literally engaged to someone and is about to marry someone. But what you can do is actually marry me. And then our heroine's like, okay, fine, I'll marry you. So then afterwards they get into this fake marriage and marriage of convenience kind of thing, trope. And they live like a comfortable life until he realizes that she may have lied to him all along. And it's like this whole dramatic like story, but it happened within 120 pages. This one I kind of enjoyed, but it happened way too fast for me to even give a damn about our two characters, and I couldn't really connect with our characters very well, so it was a mediocre read, and I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. So the next one that I did read was another short book. This one is another Christmas novel called Miss Isabella Thaws of Frosty Lord by Larissa Lyons, and now this one was just a random indie historical romance that I picked up one day. But this one is basically about Mr. Frost, who is very grumpy, he's very grouchy, he doesn't want to, you know, have people near him, but then he sees our heroine and he's completely captivated by her and he wants to have her, but he doesn't know how to seduce ladies because he's so rough and he's so mean. And then our heroine is very sweet and she's very kind, she's sunshine, but what he doesn't know is that she's actually blind, and there's like all these like dramatic scenes that happen where like misunderstandings happen because he doesn't know that she's blind. So this one, gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't like it. I thought it was really boring. I thought the writing was very like long-winded. Lots of reviewers always say that the writing is so smooth, so decadent, so good. I didn't think like that. I thought the writing was long-winded. I thought that we were running in circles. It was confusing. I just didn't like it. 2 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I did read was another Stacey Reid novel called Sins of Duke. And now this one is about our female heroine who is oblivious to the world and knows that she is very attracted to our hero, and our hero is very attractive looking. Every girl wants to be with him, every guy wants to be him. So they have this special moment together at this dance, and she is like in love with him basically, but what she doesn't know is that our hero is actually out to get her because her brother actually did something to wrong him, and now he wants to get revenge by, you know, getting the sister, which is our heroine. So this is the romance. This one, give it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was like a solid read. It wasn't that good. It wasn't that bad. Didn't really feel much inside when I was reading it. Didn't really connect with the characters. Didn't really care. I liked it, but it wasn't like angsty and it wasn't sweet or fluffy. So that was just like a quick update of all the things I read that I never mentioned in my week reading vlog so far. But Friday is here. Right now is like 3 something. And I haven't finished anything yet, so that's great. Like, yay for me. But I think I did a pretty good job at the readathon. I completely ignored my TBR. I just completely ignored it. I read some of it. I don't even know if I'm going to get to some of the books that I mentioned in TBR this week, or I'm just going to read some random ones. But one of the group reads that we do have that I have to get to, that I am getting to actually, I'm like 100 pages in, is Olivia and the Masked Duke by Grace Calloway. Grace is a sweetheart, and she sent me like the physical copy of this book, and I thank her for it because I'm reading it right now and I'm enjoying it, reading it physically. This one is about our female heroine who has been in love with her childhood friend for so many years, but our hero is actually like 12 years older than her. So our hero always thought of her as a child until she hits 19 and she develops into her body and she has like a mind of her own kind of thing. And then suddenly he's thinking about her a lot. Our heroine is also like a amateur sleuth. Like, she likes to solve mysteries and she's very intelligent. She's very smart. So she actually joins a club full of ladies who solve crime for other females, and they go and investigate. And then meanwhile, our hero has his own like investigation like system going on where he solves crime in the city, and he hides behind a mask so that people don't recognize him. But what happens is that she actually kind of like steps in his way, and he's trying to like stop her from getting into trouble and also from figuring out who he really is, basically. So far, 100 pages in, I'm adoring this book so much. I love it so much. I just love the writing. Like, it's so good. I love the characters. It's so interesting, and I feel like if you like Evie Dunmore, you'll definitely love this book because we just have such strong female heroines in this book. So I'm definitely going to try to read a lot more today, because tomorrow is going to be kind of a busy day for me because my friend is getting married in September and she has asked me to try on some bridesmaids dresses. So I will have to do some shopping tomorrow. So I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of time to read tomorrow. And plus, I don't even know when I'm going to wrap up this reading vlog because I already have so many clips. Also, today is going to be a very exciting day where I'm going to be on Instagram Live with Lenora Bell. Lenora Bell has definitely become one of my favorite historical romance authors this year. I love her to pieces, and basically I asked her if she wanted to be my guest for the historical romance IG lives that we've been doing, and she said yes. So hopefully you guys have checked it out. If you guys haven't checked it out, you can check it out on my Instagram page under my IGTV section.